My voice.
No. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Test.
Good morning, everyone. We'll get started in about 2 minutes.
Okay, so if there's an issue, I'm sure they'll get it.
Oops, sorry.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our September. Oh, one moment. Small technical problem. So welcome to our September meeting of the Rural Affairs Committee. I'm going to ask the coordinator to do the roll call, please.
Councillor Kitts,
Here.
Councillor Luloff, Councillor Skalski,
Here.
Vice Chair Kelly,
Present.
and Chair Brown.
Here, thank you. And I will note that Councillor Luloff will join us later. He is currently at a 10 a.m. kindergarten orientation for his daughter, not himself. So he will be joining us as promptly as he can virtually. This is a meeting to consider the proposed comprehensive official plan and or zoning bylaw amendments as listed as items 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3 on today's agenda. For the items just mentioned, only those specifically identified in the Planning Act who make oral submissions today or written submissions before the amendments are adopted may appeal the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In addition, the applicant may appeal the matter to the Ontario Land Tribunal if council does not adopt an amendment within 90 days of receipt of the application for a zoning bylaw amendment and 120 days for an official plan amendment. To submit written comments on these amendments prior to their consideration by City Council on the 10th of September 2025, please email or call the committee or council coordinator. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none. Confirmation of minutes from the meeting of Thursday, July 3rd, 2025. Are these minutes confirmed?
Confirmed.
Thank you. Item 4.1 zoning bylaw amendment for 2164 Old Prescott Road. Staff are here from our planning team to answer any questions should committee have some. There is no presentation and we have received one request to speak from Mr. Bays. However, Mr. Bays, if this item carries on consent today, do you still wish to speak? Thank you very much for coming today. Colleagues, are there any questions on this item? The report recommendations are that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 2164 Old Prescott Road as shown in document 1 to permit a detached dwelling as detailed in document 2, and that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the consultation detail section of this report. Is this item carried?
Carried.
Thank you, colleagues. Item 4.2 zoning bylaw amendment for 5581 Dr. Leach Drive. Again, staff are here should our colleagues have any questions. There is no presentation and we have received one request to speak from Jason Bolduc. However, Jason, if this item carries, or Jacob rather, if this item carries, do you still wish to speak on the item? Thanks for coming, Jacob. The report recommendations are that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council approve an amendment to zoning bylaw 2008-250 for 5581 Dr. Leach Drive as shown in document 1 to amend the rural exception 580R to permit a 2-story apartment building as detailed in document 2, and that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the consultation details section of this report. Is this item carried?
Carried.
Thank you very much. The next item is item 4.3, minor zoning bylaw amendment for 6158 Rideau Valley Drive. We do have staff here. There is no presentation and we have received 3 requests to speak. However, before we hear from anyone, the application and the applicant has requested a deferral of this item to the ARAC meeting in November. The Vice Chair will read out a motion to defer. If the motion to defer is carried, we will not be hearing from anyone today, but delegations may return when this matter is next considered. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Whereas the applicant has requested additional time due to availability and consideration of additional details related to the application, and whereas the first notice of meeting had been sent out to the public prior to the request to change committee dates, therefore be it resolved that the Agricultural and Rural Affairs Committee approve the following. Defer report ACS 2025 PDP PSX 0030 for further consideration and return to ARAC at November 6, 2025 meeting, and permit staff to include, if necessary, a revised staff report and or supporting documentation for inclusion in the distribution of the meeting agenda with appropriate notice being provided. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. And I just want to confirm that we will come back in November. Notice will be reissued, and so no one is losing an opportunity to speak. Mr. Moody, is that correct?
Yes, Chair, that is correct, and there will be further notice provided.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Colleague, are there any questions on the motion to defer? No. Is the motion to defer carried?
Carried.
All right, thank you very much. Item 4.4, Rural Community Building Grant Application Review, Marlborough Community Recreation Association. We do have our team from the Rural Affairs Office, Mr. Moody and Mr. Thompson are here. There is no presentation. We have received no request to speak. There are no additional correspondence. However, if anyone is in the audience and would like to speak to this item, I'm happy to consider that. The report recommendations are that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the recommendation on the Rural Community Building Grants Program application as detailed in document 1. And I'm not seeing anyone rushing to the microphone to speak to this item. So is this item carried? Thank you very much. Item 5.1, the result of the traffic signal and always stop control warrant review in consideration of the rural context. We do have our team from our traffic services department. We will have a staff presentation. We have received no request to speak and there is no additional correspondence. So if our colleagues from traffic services would like to come down. Thanks for coming, Heidi.
So good morning, everyone. So you can jump to the next slide, please. So this report is to address former Councillor DeRuse's direction to staff to review the always stop control warrant process for rural intersections to ensure that it takes into consideration the rural context, as well as an informal request from Councillor Brown to review current traffic signal warrant practices through a rural runs. So the objective was assess if current warrant processes consider unique characteristics of rural intersections in Ottawa and align with best practices in other jurisdictions, as well as to identify any enhancements where applicable. Next slide, please. So starting with signalized intersections. The traffic signal warrants follow the provincial guidelines in Ontario Traffic Manual Book 12. And we reviewed if we are still in alignment with these guidelines. We also reviewed all the input data used in our evaluations, including the application of traffic flow characteristics, the standard count hours used in the warrant process, and a targeted review of the use of the 4-hour justification category in OTM Book 12. A jurisdictional survey was also conducted through the Road Safety Committee of Ontario, known as ROSCO, with follow-up conversations where required. 5 jurisdictions provided responses to the survey, and of the 5 locations, 3 are near Ottawa, and were contacted via phone for follow-up discussions, including Town of Carleton Place, Town of Smith Falls, and Lanark County. Next slide, please. The review confirmed that overall the current processes align with best practices and provincial guidelines already applies a rural lens. One of the components this review assessed specifically is the 4-hour vehicle volume justification in OTM Book 12. As part of the signal warrant assessment input data, traffic data is collected over a standard 8-hour period and used for analysis. The option of using a shorter time period is presented in OTM Book 12, but staff reviewed this option and concluded that the 8-hour warrant should continue as city practice. Maintaining the 8-hour warrant targets locations with prolonged congestion and delays. It improves safety and traffic flow. It makes the best use of limited resources and aligns with recognized traffic engineering standards. Next slide, please. So as mentioned, the review confirmed that overall, the current policy already does apply a rural lens, but nonetheless, a few improvements to the process were identified that we have since made. Staff have modified the city's warrant process for traffic signals to include a speed study as part of the data collection process at intersections in rural areas or intersections within urban areas exhibiting rural characteristics to verify the operating speeds. This will help staff better understand the context of the area, which will help confirm, along with engineering judgment, which kind of flow conditions to apply to the intersection, and therefore which volume thresholds are applicable. Staff are also extending traffic count periods over a 16-hour period for rural areas or intersections within urban areas exhibiting rural characteristics to ensure the highest 8 hours is captured, as the time when peak volumes can differ in rural areas. Both of these improvements can be made through traffic services delegation of authority and within our existing budgets. Next slide, please. So now to the always stop control warrant process. Staff reviewed the existing council-approved warrant process, specifically in its consideration of rural roadways. as well as warrant practices in other Ontario's jurisdictions. The existing warrant process was last updated and approved by Council in 2020, and a review of the provincial guidelines established in Ontario Traffic Manual Book 5 for regulatory signs were assessed at that time. Also, a jurisdictional review was conducted on always stop warrant methodology in 2022 in response to a council inquiry. It was undertaken by circulating a questionnaire to all members of the Road Safety Committee of Ontario. A total of 13 jurisdictions responded to that online survey. Next slide, please. So our review found that the city's warrant process, which is foundationally based on the guidelines set forth in OTM Book 5, does already take into consideration the rural context, specifically for intersections that include at least one arterial road, but does not include a rural-specific consideration for evaluation of a rural intersection outside of villages that include two collector roads intersecting each other or a local road intersecting a collector road. The OTM Book 5 does not provide clear warrant guidelines for rural collector roadways specifically. Next slide, please. So a new rural collector evaluation consideration is being proposed for adoption within the existing always stop warrant policy. More specifically, it would apply when evaluating the need for always stop control at intersections in rural areas outside of villages, where a local road would intersect a collector road or where a collector road intersects another collector road. It would be very similar to the existing warrant criteria that we use today for rural arterials, whereby an always stop control would be triggered if the threshold is met for one of three criteria relating to the intersection, either collision history, sight lines, or traffic volume, but with a lower minimum traffic volume threshold as compared to the threshold required for arterial roads. It would no longer use the point system used for urban collectors that also take into consideration pedestrians and pedestrian generator land uses. This enhancement would ensure the warrant process for rural intersections outside villages considers the rural context for all intersection configurations. Next slide, please. So thank you. This concludes our presentation. As indicated, the enhancements to the traffic signal warrant review process are already in place as these are implemented through delegated authority. But the new proposed criteria, for the always stop control warrant would be adopted upon council approval of the report. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you very much for the presentation. The Vice Chair has agreed to move a motion on my behalf. So before we go to questions to staff, I'll ask the Vice Chair to read that in so it's on the record.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Whereas Richmond is the fastest growing village in Ottawa, representing 63.8% of the population growth experienced across all of Ottawa's rural villages between 2020 and 2024. And whereas infrastructure and commercial amenities in Richmond have not always kept pace with the speed of development, whereas Richmond is expected to continue growing at a similar rate in the coming years, and whereas currently there is only one grocery store in Richmond located within the commercial plaza on Perth Street between Shea and Eccleston. And whereas in order to manage increased traffic flows from vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists more effectively and safely, residents have been clear that the new infrastructure is required at the intersection of Perth and Shea. And whereas the intersection of Perth and Shea is expected to meet warrants for a traffic control signal within the coming years, especially given the scale and scope of planned and approved residential development in Richmond. And whereas the intersection of Perth and Shea is identified in the intersection control measures list in the 2024 development charges background study and is a candidate for design and construction between 2024 and 2031 once traffic control signal warrants have been met. And whereas when an intersection pedestrian signal at Perth and Gable was installed, staff noted that it would need to be replaced in the future with a full signalized traffic control signal at Perth and Shea, given its close proximity to the intersection. And whereas the IPS at Perth near Gamble did not meet warrants when it was installed and is underutilized because it does not fully or sufficiently cover pedestrian movements to the commercial plaza. And whereas resolving these concurrent challenges along a timeline that meets the rapidly evolving needs of the community requires an expedited approach to design and construction. Therefore, be it resolved, the traffic control signal be approved for installation at the intersection of Perth and Shea. Be it further resolved that staff be directed to undertake the design required to support the removal of the IPS at Perth near Gamble and the addition of traffic control signal at Perth and Shea along such a timeline as to permit construction as soon as possible. And be it further resolved that staff be directed to include the detailed design and construction of this traffic control signal for council's consideration as part of the 2026 capital budget intersection control measures program, 100% funded through development charges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair. So colleagues, are there any questions to our traffic services team? I will say thank you very much for undertaking this work. And I know MPP DeRuse in his capacity as chair of this committee and a councillor wanted to see this move forward. And I think this is a major takeaway from the Rural Summit that we hosted back in November. It's important that the rural context is considered when we look at intersections, and as rural Ottawa continues to grow and we're starting to see that increase in traffic, having this type of lens, I know will help us move forward with desperately needed infrastructure. So I appreciate the work you've done on this, and as a councillor for Ward 21, I appreciate the work staff did on the amending motion that the Vice Chair just read in, and for the support you've provided to me on that and to the Village of Richmond as a whole. So thank you very much. So colleagues, is this item carried as amended?
Carried.
Carried.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Heidi. Item 6.1, the Rural Environmental Land Acquisition and Stewardship Program Terms of Reference and Property Selection Criteria. We do have our team here. Dr. Stowe is with us today. There is no staff presentation. We have received no speakers and we have received no submissions. However, if there's someone who wishes to speak on this item, certainly happy to hear from them. Or if there are any questions from our colleagues. No, seeing none. Okay, the report recommendation is that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommends that council approve the proposed terms of reference for the Rural Environmental Land Acquisition and Stewardship Program as attached in document 1, including the proposed property selection criteria. Is this item carried? Carried. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the team for working on this. Appreciate all of that hard work and bringing this forward so quickly. The next item is item 7.1, engineer's report for McKinnon's Creek Municipal Drain. However, I believe a motion to defer is being written. So if, would you like me to go to the next item, or is that ready now? Then we'll hold that item and we'll go to the next one. Oh, I'm told it's coming to me momentarily, so I just have to exercise some patience. Go ahead.
Whereas a technical error occurred in the public notice regarding the deadline to sign up as a delegation to speak on this item, therefore be it resolved that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee approve the following. 1, defer the report to the ARAC October 2nd, 2025 meeting. And 2, permit staff to include, if necessary, a revised staff report and or supporting documentation for inclusion in the distribution of the meeting agenda with appropriate notice being provided.
Thank you, Councillor. Is that motion to defer carried? Carried. All right, thank you very much. Item 7.2, McIntyre Scobie Municipal Drain, appointment of engineer. Our drainage colleagues are here. We have one request to speak from Mr. and Mrs. Chafalo. So I'll ask Mr. and Mrs. Chafalo to come up. Or are they online? Mr. and Mrs. Chafalo, if you can unmute your microphone, you have 5 minutes and you can go whenever you're ready.
Yes, hi, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Yes, my husband would like to speak to you on this issue that we've been having for a number of years. His English is, not very good, but he's going to try his best to explain the situation to you. I'm pretty sure you're aware of it because we've complained to you multiple times about it. It's been going on over, 3 years, going on 4 years now with that McIntyre Scobie drain that's not draining. And the city has told us there's nothing they can do and it continues to flood our property. Just 1 second.
Hello.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, the problem is where we locate, right? Right to the corner, the Carleton Golf in Rideau Valley, 6373.
Yep, go ahead with your delegation.
Okay. Now the problem, them 2-3 years ago or 4 now, raised the road high, but that's no concern to me. The problem, the drainage, the front of us have a land, bush before. It's 2 years now make a farmland. I don't know how many acres, maybe 500, maybe more, or maybe less, I don't know. And a lot of drainage coming to the creek. To my creek join with the Gulf. The water for both sides of the road drain to the pipe, go to the corner of my property. It go to my no longer my what's called backyard. And this what happened to the end of my property at the next neighbor is from there a plug. No ditch, no creek whatsoever, no ditch, no creek whatsoever from there to Marina, because 2 years ago the city came clean from there for the culvert there in the road till the end of my property. Then no go farther. Now the problem is this. I call it the Gulf and them say, yeah, we cleaner. The machine work there one for make a big, what's called? Why you not talking?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Mrs. Chafalo.
Yes, I'm just going to try and continue here. So over at the golf course, we've
small pond.
there's like a small pond and
2 years ago started to make a big pond.
and they made it a larger pond to accumulate more water in the pond, and that water drains in the McIntyre Scobie drain also from the pond.
Plus the problem.
Plus across the road, when they cleared the farmer's field over there, they cut everything down, the brushes and everything, and it just came right in the creek. Everything got washed down here. So that created blockage, and we've had no relief for like going on 4 years now.
The creek completely plugged.
Like that portion of the whole creek is completely plugged. It has nowhere to drain the water, and it keeps backing up in our backyard.
Plus I can't rain, I can't cut the land.
If it rains minimally, we can't go in the backyard at all. Can't cut the grass. We can't do anything.
The basement we have
we have all humidifiers go in the basement. Lots of humidity from the water coming from the sump pump hole that sits in there, and it's stagnant water, so it's creating a lot of issues for us in the house also. And we've complained to the city, and they're telling us that they can't go on private property to clear the area after the outlet, because according to the engineer's report, the outlet, the drain ends there.
Last year I
So,
stopped with the machine was late.
We got our lawn tractor stuck back there trying to cut the grass. We've had multiple issues.
Called the manager. Him say, sorry, I don't have no worker here now. And
And even the golf course, they're saying they don't have the people to clear their area and things like that.
Yeah, last year, one day, I stuck with the lawnmower. I can't push. I can't put some board or something. Can move. It's the 2-3 days there till it dry. I call it the what's called, who in charge to the golf, the manager, what's called, manager? The manager, and he says, sorry, I don't have no, everybody go home now, I don't have nobody to come help you, to push, to do anything. Because soon a little bit water, soon a little bit rain, the land wait. Now 3 years I no make no garden because nothing grow there because too wet. I concerned about the field make in the front make I don't know how many acre land field. This put a lot of chemical and maybe affect my well because I have a 200% more water, even like water, all my backyard till the fence is
Now,
full with water.
To follow, your time has elapsed, but if I'll give you 15 seconds, if you could just wrap up, and then I'm going to ask our drainage team to come down and answer a few questions in response to the comments you've posed. So if you can just wrap up your delegation. We'll
Yeah, a lot of people come here. Yeah. Go talk to the golf after I know here nothing because the big fish eat the small one. The small one can eat the big fish. Now, secretary, I change maybe three or four sun pump. I have in a shed for sure in case. I have a picture where the flood in the basement put some clothes and the insurance no pay. Lots of clothes spoil. The basement finish I spent over $150,000 before. 150,000 10, 15 years or 20 years ago. I have a 2-bedroom, 1 office, 1 workshop. The basement, the laundry is a big basement. I have to close the basement if this is not going to be fixed. I lose all the area from the basement. I even call it to the, what's called this? The guy?
Mr. Chafalo, again, your time has elapsed, so I'm
Okay, all right.
questions of our drainage staff in response to the comments you've raised here, and I have a couple questions for them as well. So I have Mr. Ryan here from our drainage team. Mr. Ryan, could you outline with a bit of context the staff recommendation in the report, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chair. So the McIntyre-Scobie drain was constructed in 1969. It outletted where it outlets today, which is near the Chefalos property. We have maintained the drain as much as we can according to the engineer's report and bylaw. 2 drainage superintendents have been out there to examine it. The last maintenance was undertaken on close to the Chefalos property in March of 2024. So the outlet is what it is. It's a nuisance issue for these people. I understand that, but the drain is functioning as designed. The outlet would be through a floodplain. So we did provide them with the opportunity to request a improvement under the Drainage Act. But there are costs associated with that, significant costs. And if they're the only landowner that's really going to benefit from it, the costs far outweigh the benefits. We also met with the Conservation Authority in advance of this meeting, and they would not be supportive of issuing a permit in this regard. So the drain is functioning as designed. They can still petition under the Drainage Act, but there will be significant costs, not petition rather, but they can request an extension of the drain through the Drainage Act. But there are significant costs associated with that.
And can you just describe for committee, again, who would cover those costs?
Yeah, so these are private communal systems with status under provincial legislation. So they're communal, right? So everybody that benefits pays for the drain, pays for the construction of the drain, pays for future maintenance. And so the cost, if they were the only requesting landowner, a large portion of the cost would be borne by them. And any landowner, assuming they still own the land when the work's completed, or the property rather, whoever owns that property would have a significant bill. Significant. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars just to get an engineer to look at it.
All right, no, thank you very much. And I think that context is important. And my understanding as well is this is the first report for drainage works that I'm aware of, and I think likely the first report from the amalgamated city of Ottawa where drainage staff are recommending against moving forward. Is that correct?
That's the first one in my 25 plus years. Yes, you're correct.
Well, as a Dave, you've been here longer than this, Dave, so
Yeah.
I'll take that. I understand the concern from Mr. and Mrs. Chafalo. I understand that they want this issue to be resolved. But based on the conversations that I've had with the landowner, and I know the conversations that staff have had with the landowner, there is some concern about not wanting to cover some of these costs. And as Mr. Ryan has outlined, there'll be significant costs for the landowner. We also will run into an issue with permitting from the Rideau Valley Conservation Authority. And so I don't want to see, as the councillor who represents Mr. and Mrs. Chafalo, but also as chair of the committee, I don't want to see these costs be incurred if the work isn't going to be undertaken. At the end of the day, drainage works are there to alleviate drainage concerns, but I don't want us to go down this very long and expensive process where costs will be incurred even if that resolution is not brought to bear. So I'm going to recommend that committee support the staff recommendation and deny the request to appoint an engineer for this project. But I just want to confirm, Mr. Ryan, that if the landowners in question wish to proceed, is there an opportunity for them to appeal this decision?
Yes, there is, Mr. Chair. They can appeal to any decision of council under the Act to the Ontario Drainage Tribunal or the Ontario Drainage Referee. Just one other item, if I could just, one other issue rather is the Rideau River is not truly natural. I mean, the levels are controlled, right? And so when they raise the river, the levels in the river in the spring, it does back up water. So there's no simple solution here to improving drainage through the area. It is a floodplain. Yeah.
Nope, thank you for that context as well. And so if committee does support the staff recommendation to deny, I'm going to request that Ms. Moore on your team reach out with an email to the Chafalos and instruct them on how they can move forward with appeal if that is their desire.
That's fine. Yep, sure.
Okay, thank you. So colleagues, are there any questions for staff? Or the delegate? No? The report recommendation is that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee recommend council receive the request for major improvement under section 78(1) of the Drainage Act for the McIntyre-Scobie Municipal Drain and deny the request to appoint an engineer for this project. Is this item carried?
Carried.
Right, thank you. Mr. and Mr. Chafalo, thank you very much for coming out today. There are no in-camera items that I'm aware of. There is item 9.1, information previously distributed, Q3 2025 status update on the new zoning bylaw final draft. Was there a desire to lift that and chat with staff? No? Okay. We have one registered speaker for our open mic session. And again, our open mic session is the opportunity for residents in rural Ottawa and others across the city to come and speak to committee without having an item that is formally on the agenda. Also, the only committee at the City of Ottawa that offers this opportunity. So very pleased to be able to provide that flexibility to our residents. So Deborah from Bird Friendly Ottawa. Deborah, are you here or are you online?
I am online.
All right, go ahead.
I would have liked to have been there in person, but just given the timing of a session I have this afternoon, I was afraid I might be caught in traffic. So I'm here as the representative of as the co-chair of Bird Friendly Ottawa, and I'm actually here to issue an invitation to all of you to attend the technical briefings that we'll be having, we're offering to staff and to council. This afternoon's the first one at 2 o'clock, and then a week from now, there is a second one. And you all should have received both a Zoom link for these briefings as well as an executive summary. But I wanted to take a moment this morning to just say that the rural wards are very vital to Ottawa being certified as a bird-friendly city. One of the 3 pillars is on restoring and maintaining habitat for birds. So your fields, your woodlands, your wetlands, your farmland provide safe passage for birds on their migratory journey, for them to rest and refuel without disturbance. And as many of you are aware, they also are very beneficial for the urban environment. They increase nutrients, cycling, seed dispersal, natural pest control. And the habitat for protection for birds is useful for both birds and for farm crop yields. And I do have additional scientific information on this if any of you'd like to know more about that. The other piece is there's actually profit increase through bird-friendly hay. So I just wanted to let you know that the programs that you are delivering there in the rural wards in partnership with the conservation authorities, such as living snow fences, green acres, and naturalized shorelines, all are very much needed in terms of habitat restoration. And I thank you for the investment in those programs. The rural areas have many areas where Ottawa are visited by Ottawa's birding community. You've got some wonderful, wonderful spots. And in addition, in West Carleton, the Lac de Chêne Ottawa important birding area is actually located all along the western border and this is very important migratory bird route. And for many birds, in particular the brant goose, which I didn't know about. I'm not a big I would want to call an intermediate birder, but this is a bird that migrates to the north and it uses the Ottawa River as its migration pathway. And this area is in the process of being identified as a key biodiversity area. And both of these protections these are identified as areas, but they don't have any particular protection. So they're just identified as special biodiversity areas. So we're very fortunate to have those areas. Your actions today clearly demonstrate that you're interested in the stewardship of our natural systems. And our technical briefing will outline to you how Ottawa is already bird friendly and will provide more details on the certification program. I know I don't have time to do all of that in the 5 minutes I have today. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview of how this program is applicable. And I hope that you will be able to attend our session or send a staff representative, or if not, it will be recorded and we will provide you with our presentation. And we'd be willing to actually come and deliver the same presentation at Rural Affairs if we were invited. So thank you very much for your time and happy to answer any questions that you might have on this.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, are there any questions for Deb? I'm not seeing any, but Deb, oh, no, good. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any, but thank you very much for coming out, Deb, and best of luck today.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye now.
Colleagues, is there any notice of motion? Any inquiries? Councillor Skalski, go ahead.
So I would like to ask this. As another school year begins, I've heard from parents concerned about kids' safely crossing at elementary schools in rural communities. Drivers are paying less attention and speeding more on rural roads. This is contributing to concerns about safe crossing at schools. So I have some inquiries for city staff on the adult school crossing guard program. So what school locations in rural Ottawa have been assessed for school crossing guards? What were the results of those assessments? If the crossing guard was unwarranted, did it fail on the city's policy parameters or per legislative or other underlining constraints defined by the province? Has the adult school crossing guard program ever been assessed to ensure it accounts for the rural context? And have we ever performed a jurisdictional analysis to see how other rural municipalities apply school crossing guard programs? And I'd like to see this response provided by the December ARAC meeting, if possible.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Any other business? Seeing none, we are adjourned until October 2nd. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming today.